Now, did you have any shenanigan stories? Some fun stuff from boot camp? The tents hanging out?
Yeah, I mean, well, it was kind of. It's funny. We were weapons platoon. You know, me, Scotty Grimes, Richard Spate, and Michael Fassbender, and you know, we were weapons platoon, and I remember, we sung a lot. I remember. I mean, obviously, we were singing when we were kind of marching, and when we were kind of doing the 5-mile runs and stuff as a unit. But I remember we used to sit around and sing of our own accord. You know, I think that really kind of got us through the experience. And it was kind of funny when we would get on a coach and we would head to jump training. You could always tell weapons platoon because we would be there singing, you know, Billy Joel, or singing kind of, you know, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and trying to do harmonies, and everyone was like, what the hell is that? And it was kind of, oh yeah, it's weapons platoon. Yeah, that was kind of, you know, that's my overriding memory of how we kind of got through the experience. But I mean, the funny stuff, yeah, I mean, we had George who played Ali in our platoon, and I just, and not so much funny, I just remember he was always smoking Marlboro cigarettes like first thing in the morning. You know, we'd get up at like 4 o'clock and he'd be there sort of smoking 2 or 3, you know, full strength Marlboro cigarettes. And I would be looking at him thinking, that's a really strange thing for you to do when you're about to go on a 5-mile run. I'm sure that's not gonna, you know, that's not gonna stand you in very good stead. And lo and behold, within about 2 days, I remember George was always behind me during the run. I remember suddenly just hearing these coughing and spluttering, and I just thought, we've lost Ali. Ali's gone. He's his lungs are really not able to cope with this 5-mile run every day. And lo and behold, unfortunately, he had to kind of bow out because he really wasn't coping very well. And I just remember thinking, you know, what's the deal with the cigarette? Maybe it was a nervous thing or whatever. But just to kind of wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 and start smoking Marlboro cigarettes before a big run was always a very strange kind of routine to me. I was lucky if I could get through that run, you know, in one piece without kind of, you know, the nicotine. So I don't quite know what he was up to. Yeah, I mean, one of the other stories I remember was just while we were doing bayonet training. I remember we were in line to do the bayonet training. We kind of fixed bayonets, and we were in lines. Literally, they had this dummy, and you would literally kind of, you know, walk forwards with the bayonet on the end of the M1 rifle, and you would basically kind of swipe this dummy across the chest. And I remember kind of really gearing myself up for this exercise, and I could see guys that were like really pumped up, and you know, they would you know, and attack this dummy. And finally, I got to this dummy, and I kind of thought, well, you know, I'm really going to show everybody, you know, how much kind of strength and bravado I've got. And I took this M1 rifle to pieces. The whole thing fell apart in my hands. And I remember turning towards Dale Dye, thinking, I am so in trouble here. I have literally kind of ripped this M1 to pieces. I mean, it lit in career. Dale Dye is going to make me run around Longmore Camp until we leave, and do press ups every day until I manage to, you know, I don't know, buy a new one. It was just unbelievable. And they had to kind of stop the whole exercise because suddenly I broke this M1 rifle. And to this day, I just remember that, you know, when we fix bayonets, I'm an animal with that thing, you know, don't cross me.
Did they explain why your rifle fell apart? Was it shoddily put together, or?
No, I think it was just the angle at which I attacked this dummy. I mean, I think I just hit a point on the rifle that just made it snap in two. And I mean, I think they were just nervous that, you know, weapons were kind of coming apart. I mean, I think they had some problems with a couple of M1s before, and as soon as that happened, I mean, literally the whole thing stopped. Everyone looked across and couldn't believe what had happened, and they stopped this exercise because I'd literally, you know, broken this thing apart, and I didn't know I had it in me, to be honest, you know. But yeah, that was quite something. Oh, and one other thing I remember is the final field exercise we had to do as a you know, when we brought all the platoons together. And I remember that Damien Lewis, who I just got so much respect for. I think he did so amazing, particularly when we were at boot camp. He had so much to prove, you know, as a Brit taking on this character of Dick Winters in front of all the Americans, and you know, it's a huge burden on his shoulders. And I think he just did amazing throughout the series, but particularly at boot camp. And he had to address us at the beginning of this exercise, just to kind of basically tell us what, the tactics, what we were going to be doing. And I remember we were all standing around kind of ready to hear these instructions. And it was really important that every time you had your weapon with you, that it had to be, the safety catch had to be on. And for some reason, I think Damien's safety catch wasn't on. And he was standing there about to make this really important speech. Everyone was really kind of pumped up for this final exercise, and then we were going to get our jump rings. And it was silent. He was just about to speak, and his M rifle just went off. It went off. And it was just so awful, because everybody could be for Damien. But the M rifle went off, and it was a big no-no, really, to have your safety off, because obviously safety was really key, and it kind of went off, and poor Damien was just, the respect kind of just went out the window for a second as everybody kind of had this moment of silence, and then burst into we couldn't help ourselves, There he was, Damien Lewis, Lieutenant Winners, and his M1 rifle had gone off just before he was about to give us instructions, and it was a very amusing moment. But he managed to kind of put it together, and we managed to kind of get on with that exercise, which we passed, and we did it. So yeah, boot camp was amazing.
That's awesome. I could just see the look on everybody, because the only reason I know the look on people's face when that happens is I've done it before.
Oh.
I was getting into the car after hunting with my dad, and I blew a hole in the bottom of his car with my shotgun.
Oh my God!
Because I was getting in the car, and I accidentally had my finger still inside the trigger guard, and I put one foot in, and then I put the end of the gun in, and then I leaned back to get the other foot in, and when I leaned back, my hand went back on the trigger and went boom, and I blew a coffee can size hole because I was pheasant hunting, and I'm in the bottom of my dad's car. He was scared because he thought I blew my foot off, and I was scared because I figured I was getting an ass whipping for not putting the safety on and keeping the gun unloaded when I was getting back in the car. But it's
also the shock, the shock on Damien's face, because he obviously wasn't expecting it. He was just doing so well. He'd done so well, and maintaining that kind of air and that presence and that authority. And it was just suddenly, that kind of shock on his face as this kind of bang went off, and everybody was they couldn't really contain themselves. We had to kind of, chuckle and let that kind of nervous energy out. But anyway, Damien's gonna, I'm sure when he comes on, he's gonna be pissed with me for saying that. But hey, it was a very funny moment.
These are the stories you have to tell.
Exactly.
Absolutely. No, it was an amazing time, and I must just add one other thing, which is a shout out to Billy Budd, who was one of the cadre at boot camp, and he was attached to weapons platoon. And the reason why I want to mention Billy is because Billy really, he was very much part of getting me through boot camp. I mean, we because I was a machine gunner, he basically became my well, I basically carried the machine gun, and he carried the tripod, and we got very close. And he really got me through. When we hit those walls and we had those really dark moments, he was really great and managed to kind of when he went out, it was either with Neil or with I think it was with Neil, when Neil had to go to the hospital, and he brought back all this candy for us. He brought up all this chocolate, and I remember that he was just constantly doing stuff to kind of keep our morale high. And I also remember that he I think quite a way into the boot camp, obviously we weren't allowed to speak to our families or loved ones or whatever, because we were only allowed a pencil and a piece of paper to write home. And I remember I was it was a really tough day, and we were really tired, and he sort of took me aside and said, look, here's my cell phone, make a call, and he let me use the cell phone. And obviously Dale, Captain Dale died, never knew about it, but he allowed me to kind of call home when I had to. It was really amazing. He was an amazing guy and really got me through. So I just wanted to say thank you to Billy for that.
You're so fortunate to be after the Captain Die interview. Otherwise, he totally would have heard that.
I know.
And he would have called you out on it immediately.
Oh, he so would have called me. In fact, as I say, if I see him,
would have heard there was a cell phone.
He's gonna. I'm sure if I see him next week, he's gonna get me to drop and give him 20. But hey, I'm ready for that.
Oh, that's funny.
Telephone is not allowed.
God damn it! No, I'm not going to do it.
Oh, come on! That was right there. You want to?